Hey guys, I just returned from my first maintenance and thought I'd share my honest opinion of the bike so far. I'll try to keep it short, so let's start with the good stuff. First one, the engine. It's absolutely brilliant. So much torque available way down the rev range all the way to the top. Torque everywhere. Don't be fooled by the specs. It pulls much harder than it should be capable of, and on top of that, it has character. It power wheelies in second gear at 3,500 RPM with a full tank of gas. Speaking of which, considering the power, the fuel consumption is pretty good at 5.5 liters per 100 kilometers or 43 miles per gallon, and that's in cold weather during break-in period. The bike looks fantastic, a nice mix of classy, modern styling, decent ergos and legroom for taller riders, though I would have preferred the handlebars pulled up and back slightly. There's lots of suspension travel and ground clearance capable of serious off-roading. As standard, it comes with heated grips, cruise control, the traction control and ABS with lean angle sensor, 6 rider modes that really changes the bike's personality, and you can also configure your own rider mode. Tubeless spoked wheels, mirrors provide good visibility, seat is on the firm side but it allows moving around and is relatively comfortable. Surprisingly nimble for a 21-inch front wheel. It feels lighter than it actually is, aside from when you're moving it around the garage. It has a small turning radius. The stock exhaust sounds as good as the stock exhaust could. There's lots of accessories available, loads of information on the TFT cluster, easy to navigate within the menus. The rear caliper has been moved, is now on top, as opposed to the previous generation, which was very vulnerable off-road. The Brembo brakes are simply amazing, and they'll stop you as fast as you want. There's now a locking gas cap, though it would have been more practical had it been placed on the left side. They put a lot of effort in making the exhaust as narrow as possible so that it's not in the way, at least when you're sitting. So now that we've covered most of the good stuff, let's talk about the bad stuff. First things first, the Ohlins suspensions, and I know a lot of people will disagree with that, but I think they're simply too stiff for rough pavement. The T120 with probably half the travel offers a plusher ride. I even had them adjusted 3 or 4 times at a suspension shop, and it just never got to a comfortable level. Forks are better than the rear shocks, but still the suspensions overall are clearly the most underwhelming part of the bike, and where I had the highest expectations. If you're expecting a plush ride like an Africa Twin or KTM Adventure, or just about any other adventure bike or dual sport, look elsewhere. This is not a plush ride. Also, because of the exhaust, adjusting the preload is not an easy task. If you want to change it from solo to 2-up setting, expect to spend some time on it. And with all that said, if the roads you ride are smooth, you'll probably love the Ohlins, as they're really, I'd say, sporty. And aside from that, the heat shields get very hot, enough to burn your textile pants. The front one mostly. The rear one will be hot for the passenger as well, and it rattles on big bumps. Without a fender extender, the radiator will get clogged if you ride in the mud. A journalist reported one of the demo bikes overheating because of that. The menu button on the left is very close to the horn and indicators. It takes a while to get used to it, and I wish they found a better location. The first 500 kilometers or so, expect to hit the indicators when you want to navigate the menu, and vice versa. To set the off-road pro mode, you need to stop the bike. All other modes can be set on the fly simply by closing the throttle. The TFT screen could have been brighter in direct sunlight. I personally would have preferred the classic cluster of the Speed Twin. Just looks higher quality and easier to read in all conditions. And on top of these flaws, the radiator hose was rubbing against the skid plate. After 600 kilometers, it was already starting to wear. A new hose will be replaced under warranty. Just make sure to check that yours has enough clearance. The underseat compartment never worked properly. Sometimes it would not shut, sometimes it would not open. It will also be replaced under warranty. One thing that surprised me is that such effort was put in the design and engineering of this bike, yet the cable coming out of the cluster is covered in what looks like hockey stick tape, and it rubs against the headlight. I added a little piece of 3M on the headlight to protect it, and a small windscreen should hide it. I'll finish by saying that I'm not a huge fan of the keyless system, and the key is actually bigger than most car keys. Also had a few instances where the bike was telling me that it had lost connection with the key while I was riding and the key was in my pocket. Make sure to zip your pockets closed, because if you lose that key and you don't have an extra one on you or the bike, you'll be stuck where you turn off the engine. With all that said, I'm sure some will agree and disagree with certain points. Feel free to comment below with your own experience. Also, while you're at it, why not subscribe? Thanks for watching and ride safe.